Shout out to Dreamwalking Angel for making this mess and give my kids and my family one. Awesome, I like them. So Dreamwalking Angel, thank you so much for my item, my fan mail I call it. I'll put Dreamwalking Angel's link down below and check her out. She's an awesome YouTuber. I love her to death, so thank you again.
Hey guys, LilRed here, and here I come back with another thing to talk about. I know the last one was see something, say something, and now I'm going to be talking about a serial killer, a brilliant serial killer. So let's get started.
Warning: disturbing content. Viewer discretion is advised.
So, we're talking about the Zodiac Killer. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him or haven't, but today I'm going to hear about him. I watched a 6-hour documentary of this to learn about it, and wow, just wow. So, the Zodiac Killer was also named as Ed Edwards. He was born Charles Edwards Myers at 1933. His mother was a single woman, and he was born in the Great Depression. She went to jail for stealing, but had the child, and with everything going on, she shot herself in the stomach and died. Ed was 5 years old. So since his mother took her own life, he became an orphan. He became an orphan and was taken to a Catholic school. I think it was just a Catholic orphanage. So since being placed in the orphanage, he was abused by the older boys, beaten by the nuns, and then after a while, with his uncontrolled behavior, he was kicked out and sent to his grandmother. Which I don't understand why the grandmother wanted to take him after his mother took her own life. But I don't know. This was back in the 30s. So at age 17, he went into the Marines, 60s and 70s. And he's been to jail before, but after the Marines, he was on a federal parole, and then he was a reformed criminal. He was going places and being like, oh, that changed me and everything. So later on, we'll go with he was the most brilliant killer, and he framed some people. He was caught and only kind of said he did the 5 murders. The police in San Francisco, California, and Ohio all think there was more. It wasn't just what he said was 5. So he did have jail time at the Deer Lodge jail. And I think that was in the Great Falls, Montana, or Deer Lodge. Not many people heard about the jail. And he was married, and Jeanette, his first wife, moved across the jail so she was closer to him to send letters, and he had a flashlight to communicate outside the window of the jail. So that went on, and then his first wife left. She was pregnant with a boy and left. So the police think he killed John Benin Renzi, but it wasn't confirmed. He wasn't in the area, but they did see that he did own a Santa Claus costume. So I don't know. And then there was another one. It was Lacey Peterson. The husband Steven Peterson is still in jail now. They're saying that he did it and framed her husband. And of course, when your wife or spouse is killed, the first person they go after is the spouse. So I think Steven is still in jail under life, or I don't know. I think it might be coming up too. I thought I saw something. But yeah, they think he killed Lacey Peterson and framed the wife. While he was in jail at this time at Deer Lodge, in Juvie Hall with Charles Mason and Jimmy Hoffa. Just wow, like a serial killer with other serial killers. Man, do they have a jail for all the live serial killers that live? Because we all know Charles Manson and Jimmy Hoffa. He got out on parole and was a businessman and working, and Ed was like, oh man, lucky you, when I get out, all this. And Jimmy Hoffa said, hit him up, he'll give him a job and give him a stake. And supposedly Jimmy Hoffa disappeared when Edwards was out of jail. They can't connect it to Ed, they don't know. They think he might do it, but we don't know. So, he did kill 4 people in Lover's Lane. This is where, back in the days, kids would go down this road and do stuff in their car back then, and that's called Lover's Lane. So, with the Lover's Lane, it is just amazing how many people he killed. I have notes all over the place, so I'm sorry. They do think January 15th, 1947, Ed Edwards killed Elizabeth Short. Cut in two. She was literally cut in two. She was also called the Black Delilah. I think this. But they don't know. After 1960s, 1961, Ed Edwards was on the most wanted list. Most American most wanted list in 1961. And it's just, he also only graduated till 6th grade. He never went to high school. He only did 6th grade. And he had an IQ of 115, which we'll go through and I'll show you. For the Zodiac, he had cryptid, where it was like decodes. He was just brilliant on what he did. He also had his own little symbol, and I'll show you that. He also, when he was in jail, he learned how to deal with leather, and he made a leather hat and little outfit with his symbol, the Zodiac symbol. And when people saw him when he was going to kill him, they said it was like an executioner. That's what it looked like, with the helmet, clip-on glasses, and all that. So, all these killings, he said they were planned, they were premeditated, but he only used to 5. For 1980, there was a brutal murder of Timothy Hack and Kelly Drew. Terrorized a small town, Jefferson, Wisconsin. It took 72 days to find their bodies. The cops had 72 days to find their bodies. That's crazy. Like, but then again, back in these days, the killings, people didn't kill like that. It was unheard of. They were weird. He was married to his first wife, Jeanette, 1955 to 1958. Like I said, she left him with her child. Supposedly, he killed 24 African American children, but we don't know. He killed women that some of the women that he killed, and I'll show you. And I'll show you what his mother looked like, represented his mother. And I guess because his mother took her life and what he's been through, that's why he killed. And it seems like a lot of serial killers that kill somebody that looks like their mom or girlfriend or whatever. He did move to the Great Falls in January 56, days after killed 2 people in Lover's Lane. January 22nd, 1956, Pulaski and Bogle, saying nothing killed the couple on go ahead. Nothing like killing the couple on the knees, shot to the head. So, that's what they did. He made people go on their knees and killed them, shot to the head. Also, when he was in jail, one of the convicts with him, said that he was 37 years old and he killed 13 people in 4 years. They can't confirm it because, again, Ed Edwards only confirmed 5 people. Just weird. In 1980, after killing the 2 of Lover's Lane, they packed up and left. And then again, the next town, he would do it. Mike Drew, the brother of Kelly Drew that was killed, devoted his life to the police department after her death. So he was the brother of one of the victims, and he entered into the police department, and it was all because of her, which was nice. January 20th, 1968, Betty Lou Jensen and David Friendly killed, Lover's Lane. July 1969, Darlene, Ferrin, and Daniel Megan. Another killing. It's just there, and also some of these, they don't know if it was him, they're not confirming it, he just said he's killed people in Lover's Lane, so they're just, trying to see if they're linked, because he didn't really care after getting caught. And the thing is, how he got caught was his daughter gave them her DNA, and that's how they caught the serial killers, because he had a fingerprint on the taxi driver who killed. So the daughter turned in Ed Edwards, the Zodiac. He made a book in 1972 called, he literally the author and wrote a book called Metamorphosis of a Criminal. So that's out there from Ed Edwards. He made it, and they think some things in the book were clues on the murders, and there was more. And if you read it, there's a lot, and it says who he killed and all that and how. 1969, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartel died. Cecilia was shot, but Brian survived. Killed it again in the newspaper, got letters to codes. He sent codes to the newspaper and told them, publish it, and he figured out. He even killed a cab driver, Bill Stein, in 1969. And the thing is, what he said was, quote, "All that I kill will be my slaves in the afterlife," end quote. It is just, how can someone freaking do that? I don't know. Sorry, my words. I don't know. It's crazy. And then 2010, after receiving life to double murder in Wisconsin, wanted the death penalty, confessed to 3 more murders. And the whole thing is, it's unsolved for 29 days until the story led to arrest Ted. So there was a story in the news talking about it, that contact literally got Ed connected to it, and April doing the DNA, that's how he turned in. He liked, and the thing is, quote, he liked killing people, end quote. Like, how, I don't know, I just couldn't think of doing that. So, while incarcerated for the double murders of Tiffany Hack and Kelly Drew, Ed confessed to killing in August 7th, 1977, Judah Strubb and Bill Lavko found people shot point blank range, and used a 20 gauge shotgun. So he confessed to killing Bill, said. And the thing is, if Bill didn't tell the girl that was with him, Judith, his real name, he would never killed him. He said that, he goes, "That's Ed, give Ed your thing." And Ed told Bill, "Do you know what you just did?" And Bill's like, "No." He goes, "You just said my name." And he killed him. So this whole thing, oh, and there's also another one. Back in the days, he wanted to adopt a son, and they found a guy named Danny Boy. And to be his son, he wanted to adopt, but they wouldn't let him adopt, but Danny Boy really liked Ed. He groomed himself to look like an old, nice man, and got his last name, so it was Danny Boyd Edwards. So there was things going on with money, that he had a life insurance, and he was in, I think, Marines too, and he came home and he didn't want to leave, and Ed said, "We'll plan something about, your blood, and that you did this, you robbed, and then you left." So the cops thought all this, he had everything planned. If you watch the documentary, it'll tell you all. But the thing is, at the end, with the money and life insurance, he told Danny Boy to meet him, and at a place that was snowing and all that, and got a duffel bag, and while Danny Boy was searching the duffel bag for smokes and a lighter, Ed put out a gun and shot him. And then he turned around with arms up like, why, Dad, or why? And he shot him again. So he killed his own foster son. And he did confirm he did that too, later down the road. So, and the thing is, Ed Edwards died in 2011 at 77 years old in death row for murders of even Danny Boy Edwards, his foster son. So it's just crazy. Like I said, it's a 6-hour documentary. It was called "It Was Him." I watched it. Like I said, 6 hours of watching it, and I was falling asleep at the end. I'm like, well, some of the stuff, there's a cop that just constantly researching on it. Like, he was saying that he killed Jeanette and walking around. Some of the people that he talked to back in the days, Ed Edwards' grandson, wanted to talk about. So when he went to meet the people, they said, "I'll talk to you, just not John, the cop," because the cop kept on, putting more murders on him. So he was fired, and then he was searching his basement. It has everything. He's still, now these days, has an unsolved mystery or unsolved murders. He's trying to connect it to Ed Edwards. And the thing was, he had two names. It was William Myers when he wasn't killing, and Ed Edwards, Zodiac sign, when he was killing. So it's like almost a double life. But he only confessed to 5. Who knows? He probably has more. The thing is I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more than fun. Try killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most training, most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in a paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give up you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collection of slaves after life. End quote. Like, he's writing all this stuff that it's just... So, the Zodiac Killer, or simply Zodiac, is the pseudonym of the unidentified American serial killer who operated in Northern California from at least the late 1960s to the early 1970s. The killer organized the name in a series of taunting letters and cards sent to the San Francisco Bay Area press. The letters included 4 cryptid or ciphers of the 4 cryptid set. Only has been definitely solved. He murdered 5 known victims in I'm like butchering these names. Vallejo, Napa County, and San Francisco, respectively, between December 1968 and October of 1969. He targeted young couples, with 2 of the men surviving attempted murder. He also murdered a male cab driver. The Zodiac himself once claimed to have murdered 37 victims. Well, no wonder they said he was like the brilliant, but the thing is, he never graduated after 6th grade. The San Francisco Police Department marked the case inactive in April 2000. Francisco Police Department marked the case inactive in April 2004, but reopened it at some point prior to March 2007. The case also remains open in the city of Vallejo, as well as in Napa County and Solano County. The California Department of Justice has maintained an open case file on the Zodiac murders since 1969. So the confirmed murders, although the Zodiac claimed to have committed 37 murders in letters to the newspaper, investigators agree on only 7 confirmed victims, 2 of whom survived. They are David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, shot and killed on December 20th, 1968, on Lake Herman Road, within the city limits of Vallejo. Michael Renault Mageau, 19, and Darlene Elizabeth Ferrin, 22, shot on 4th of July, 1969, in the parking lot of the Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. While Mageau survived the attack, Ferrin was pronounced dead on arrival at Pasteur Foundation Hospital. Brian Calvin Hardin, 20, Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, stabbed to death on September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa, Napa County. Hartel survived 8 stab wounds to the back, but Shepard died as a result of her injuries on September 29, 1969. Pauline Stein, 29, shot and killed on October 11, 1969, in the Parasco Heights neighborhood in San Francisco. It's just all these people. Theirs are just the ones he confirmed. The book may have more. I haven't read the book. I don't know if I should. We all read the book. So the first murders widely attributed to the Zodiac Killer was the shooting of high school student Betty Lou Jensen and David Ferrin on December 20, 1968, on Lake Herman Road, just beside Villisca city limits. The couple were on their first date and planned to attend a Christmas concert at Hogan High School about 3 blocks down from Jensen's Road. The couple instead visited a friend before stopping at a local restaurant and then driving out on Lake Herman Road at about 10:15 p.m. Faraday parked his mother's Rambler in a gravel turnout, which was a well-known lover's lane. Shortly after 11 p.m., their bodies were found by Stella Borges, who lived nearby. The Cicelo County Sheriff Department investigated the crime, but no leads developed. Utilizing available forensic data, Robert Graysmith postulated the other car pulled into the turnabout just prior to 11 p.m. and beside the couple. The killer apparently exited the second car and walked toward the Rambler, possibly ordering the couple out of the Rambler. Jensen appeared to have exited the car first, yet then, when Faraday was halfway out, the killer apparently shot him in the head. The killer was shot Jensen 5 times in the back as she fled. Her body was found 28 feet from the car. The killer then drove off. So, I feel bad for these people. They just want to go on a date. First, just before midnight on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau drove into the Blue Rock Springs Park in Valento, 4 miles from the Lake Herman Road murder site and parked. While the couple sat in Ferrin's car, a second car drove into the lot and parked alongside them, but almost immediately drove away. Returning about 10 minutes later, the second car parked behind them. The driver of the second car then exited the vehicle, approaching the passenger side door of Ferrin's car, carrying the flashlight and a 9mm Luger. The killer directed the flashlight into Mageau and Ferrin's eyes before shooting at them, firing 5 times. Both victims were hit. The several bullets had passed through Mageau and into Ferrin. The killer walked away from the car, but upon hearing Mageau moaning, returned and shot each victim twice before driving off. On July 5th, 1969, at 12:40 a.m., a man phoned the Vallejo Police Department to report the claim responsible for the attack. The caller also took credit for the murders of Jensen and Faraday 6.5 months earlier. Police traced the call to a phone booth at a gas station at Springs Road and Portland, located about 3/10 of a mile from Ferrin's home and only a few blocks from the Philadelphia Police Department. Ferrin was pronounced dead at the hospital. Mageau survived the attack despite being shot in the face, neck, and chest. Man, he had a freaking guardian angel with him, I have to say. Mageau described his attacker as a 26 to 30-year-old, 195 to 200 pounds, white male with short, light brown, curly hair. So here's the first letter from the Zodiac. And I'll post a lot of letters he wrote and give you time to read it. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience, to even better than giving your rocks off with a girl. The best part of this is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and I will will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you would try to slow me down to stop my collection of slaves for my afterlife. And then it was something else he wrote. The solution of Zodiac's 408 symbol cipher, the meaning, if any of the final 18 letters has not been determined. So, only having 6th grade education, he didn't he wasn't a good writer, and that's why they think in other murders with letters, how he wrote his letters, it looked like in those letters too. So, on August 1st, 1969, 3 letters appeared prepared by the killer were received the Valco Times, Her, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. The nearly identical letters subsequently described by a psychiatrist to have been written by someone you would expect to be broadened and isolated, took credit for the shooting at Lake Herman Road in Blue Rock Springs. Each letter also indicated 1/3 of a 408 symbol cryptic which the killer claimed contained his identity. The killer determined that they print on each paper's front page, where he would curse around all weekend, killing lone people in the night when they move on to kill again, until I end up with a dozen people over the weekend. So with this threat, they were scared. They didn't want any more people to kill. They didn't want to find the guy. So Trump published its third of the cryptic page on page 4 of the next day edition. An article printed along the code quoted Velos Police Chief Jack E. Stoltz as saying, "We're not satisfied that the letter was written by the murderer, and request the writer send a second letter with more facts to prove his identity. The threatened murder did not happen, and all 3 parts were eventually published." On August 7, 1969, another letter was received by the San Francisco Examiner with the solution, quote, "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking," end quote. This was the first time the killer had used this name for identification. The letter was a response to Chief Schultz requested for more details that would prove he had killed Friday, Jensen, and Ferrin. In it, the Zodiac included details about the murder which had not been released to the public, as well as a message to the police that when they crack this code, quote, "they will have you," end quote. On August 8, 1969, Donald and Brett Hardin of Salas, California, cracked the 408-symbol cryptogram containing a misspelled message in which the killer seemed to reference, quote, "the most dangerous game," end quote. He also said he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. No name appeared in the decode text, and the killer said that he would not give it. Him saying he would not give away his identity because it would slow down the collection. It's just, why? So on September 27th, 1969, Pacific Union College students Brian Hartel and Cecilia Shepard were picnicking at the Lake Berryessa on a small island connected by the sand split to Oaktown Ridge. A white man above 5 feet 11 inches, weighing more than 170 pounds, with combed greasy brown hair, approached with them wearing a black executioner-type hood with clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes and a bib-like device on his chest that had a white 3 by 3 inch cross circle symbol on it. He approached them with a gun, which Hardin believed to be a .45. The man hooded claimed to be an escaped victim from a jail with a 2-word name in either Colorado or Montana. A police officer later inferred he had been referring to the jail in Deer Lodge, Montana, where he had killed a guard and subsequently stole a car. Explaining that he now needed their car and money to go to Mexico as the vehicle had been driving was too hot. So on the car door of Hartel's, there was an inscription left by the killer. So he was writing letters and putting, things on cars. He had brought pre-cut length of plastic clothesline and told Shepard to tie up Hardin before he tied her up. The killer checked and tightened Hardin's bonds after discovering Shepard had bound Hartel's hand loosely. Hartel initially believed this event to be a bizarre robbery, but the man drew a knife and stabbed him both repeatedly. Hartel suffered 6 and Shepard 10 wounds in the process. The killer then hiked 500 yards back up to Knoxville Road, drew a cross-circle symbol on the Hartel's car door with a black felt pen, and wrote beneath, Bellico, 12/20/68, 7/4/69, September 27, 69, 6:30 by knife. Weird. At 7:40 p.m., the killer called the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone to report the latest crime. Caller first stated to the operator that he wished to report a murder. No, a double murder. Before stating that he had been the predator of the crime, the phone was found. Still off the hook, minutes later at the Napa Car Wash on Main Street in Napa by Kayvon radio reported Pat Stanley only a few blocks from the sheriff's office, yet 27 miles from the crime scene. You would never think detectives were able to lift a still wet palm print from the telephone, but never were able to match it to any suspect. You would think they would from going to Judy Hall, they would have his fingerprints and all that. It's just weird. After hearing their screams for help, a man and his son who were fishing in a nearby cove discovered the victims and summoned help by contracting park rangers. Napa County Sheriff's Department Dave Collins and Ray Land were the first law enforcement officers to arrive at the crime scene. Cecilia Shepard was conscious when Collins arrived, providing him with a detailed description of the attacker. Hartel and Shepard were taken to Queen of the Valley Hospital in Napa by ambulance. Shepard lapsed into a coma during transportation to the hospital and never regained consciousness. She died 2 days later, but Hartel survived to recount his tale to the press. Napa County Sheriff Detective Ken Norwell was who assisted to the case from the outset, worked on solving the crime until he retired from the department in 1987. So there's people that were all about this, and oh, it's crazy. 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969, a white male passenger entered the cab driven by the Paul Stein at the intersection of Mason and Gary Streets, 1 block west from Union Square in San Francisco, requesting to be taken to Washington and Maple Street in Prestea Heights. For a reason unknown, Steve drove 1 block past Maple to Cherry Street. The passenger then shot Stein once in the head with a 9mm, took Stein's wallet and car keys, and tore away a section of Stein's bloodstained shirt tail. The passenger was observed by 3 teenagers crossing the street at 9:55 p.m. They called the police while the climb was in process. They're literally watching this guy do it and then calling the police. Like, I think I would be freaked out. They observed a man wiping the cab down before walking away towards Presto, 1 block to the north. The 2 blocks from the crime scene, Patrol Officer Don Fluke and Eric Zelms, responding to the call, observed a white man walking along the side street east on Jackson Street and stepping into a stairwell leading up to the front yard of one of the homes on the north side of the street. The encounter lasted only 5 to 10 seconds. So literally he did this all. I guess he didn't have any blood on him. Just walked the other way where the kids called and said that the killer was walking this way. So listen to this, what happened. Because they literally just passed the killer and didn't nab him. Because one little thing they needed. Description. It was horrible. Folk estimate the white male pedestrian to be 35 to 45 years old, 5'10", tall with a crew cut similar to but slightly older than the description of the teenagers who observed the killer in and out of Stein's cab, as a 25 to 30-year-old crew-cut white male with 5 foot 8 inches tall. The police radio dispatcher had, however, initially alerted the officers to be on the lookout for a black suspect. So Folk and Zelms drove past him without stopping. A mix-up in description remains unexplained. Literally, they had him there, and he's like, "Oh, he went that way." He kept on walking because he was older than what the kid said, and his description, like, oh, a search ensued, but no suspects were found. This was the last official confirmed murder by the Zodiac Killer. Maybe he only went to say he did 5. I don't know. The Stein murder was initially thought to be a routine robbery and had escalated. However, on October 13th, the San Francisco Chronicle received a new letter from the Zodiac containing a piece of bloody shirt and taking credit. Well, he's saying he's taking credit for the killing. Like, I did it. Here's the shirt. Here's what I wiped up. The 3 teen witnesses worked with a police artist to prepare a composed sketch of Stein's killer. A few days later, this police artist returned, working with the witness to prepare a second composed sketch of the killer. Detective Bill Armstrong and David Tushy were assigned to the case. The San Francisco Police Department investigated an estimated 2,500 suspects over a period of years. On October 14, 1969, the Chronicle received another letter from the Zodiac, this time containing a swap of Paul Stine's shirt tail as proof as he was the killer. It also included a threat about killing school children on a school bus. To do this, Zodiac wrote, quote, "Just shoot out the front tire and then pick up the kiddies as they come bouncing out," end quote. At 2 p.m. on October 20, 1969, someone claimed to be the Zodiac called the Oakland Police Department, demanding that one or two prominent lawyers, F. Lee Bailey or Melvin Bailey, appear on AM San Francisco, a talk show on KGO TV hosted by Jim Dunbar. Bailey was not available, but Bailey did appear on the show. Dunbar appealed to the viewers to keep the lines open, and eventually someone claiming to be the Zodiac called several times and said his name was Sam. Bailey agreed to meet with him in Daly City, but the suspect never showed. On November 8, 1969, the Zodiac mailed a card with another cryptogram consisting of 340 characters. The 340 characters cipher has never been decoded. Numerous possible solutions have been suggested, but none can be claimed as definite. On November 9, 1969, the Zodiac mailed a 7-page letter, 7 pages, stating that the two policemen stopped and actually spoke with him 3 minutes after he shot Stein. Excerpts from the letter were published in the Chronicle of November 12, including the Zodiac's claim. That same day, Officer Don Vluke wrote a memo explaining what had happened the night of Stein's murder on December 20, 1969, exactly 1 year after the murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. The Zodiac mailed a letter to Bailey that included another swatch of Stein's shirt. The Zodiac said he wanted Bailey to help him. Various authors speculated at the time of the killings that other murders may have been worked on the Zodiac, but none have been confirmed. So there's Robert Domingos, 18, and Linda Edwards, 17, shot and killed on July 4, 1963, on a beach near Gavito. There are some specific familiars between their attack and the Zodiac attack at Lake Berryessa 6 years later. Then you got Cherry Joe Bates, 18, stabbed to death and nearly decapitated on October 30, 1966, at Riverside City College in Riverside. Bates, possibly connected to the Zodiac, only appeared 4 years after he murdered when San Francisco Chronicle reporter Paul Avery received a tip recording stimulants between the Zodiac Killer and the circumstances surrounding Bates' death. Donna Lass, 25, last seen September 6, 1970, in State Line, Nevada. A postcard with an advertisement from the Forest Pines condominiums near Incline Village at Lake Tahoe. Passed on the back received at the Chronics on March 22, 1971. No evidence had been uncovered to connect Lass' disappearance with the Zodiac Killer, however. Kathleen Johns, 22. Allegedly abducted on March 22, 1970, on Highway 132 near I-580 in an area west of Montesco. John escaped the car of a man who drove her. So this woman was having troubles and got in the car with her infant daughter around the area of Stockton and Peterson for approximately 1.5 hours. So Kathleen Johns went to the police and report on the night of March 22, 1970. Kathleen Johns was driving from San Bernardino to Petaluma to visit her mom. She was 7 months pregnant, and her 10-month-old daughter beside her. While heading west on Highway 132 near Mageau, the car behind her began honking its horn and flashing its headlights. She pulled off the road and stopped. The man in the car parked behind her approached her car, stating that he observed her right rear wheel was wobbling and offered to tighten the lugs up. After finishing his work, the man drove off, and yet John pulled forward to re-enter You got this. He stopped and helped her car. So she re-entered the highway, and the wheel almost immediately came off the car. So maybe he did this so he can grab her. The man returned, offering to drive her to the nearest gas station to help. She and her daughter climbed into his car. Almost like hitchhiking. The hitchhiker serial killer. During the ride, the car passed several service stations, but the man did not stop. For about 90 minutes, he drove back and forth around the back roads near Tracy. When John asked why he was not stopping, so they're calling Kathleen John, so it's Kathleen, asked why he was not stopping, he would change the subject. When the driver finally stopped at an intersection, John jumped out with her daughter and hid in a field. The driver searched for her during the flashlight. Using his flashlight, so she's out there using the flashlight, telling her that he would not hurt her, before eventually giving up. Unable to find her, he got back into the car and drove off. Kathleen John hitched a ride to the police station in Patterson. So she got in another car. Well, thank God they're not a serial killer. When Kathleen John gave her statement to the sergeant on duty, she noticed the police sketch of Paul Stine killer and recognized him as the man who abducted her and her child. Fearing he might come back and kill them all, the sergeant had Kathleen John wait in the dark at the nearby Mills restaurant. When her car was found, it had been gutted and torched. Most accounts say he threatened to kill her and her daughter while driving them around, but at least one police report disputes that. Kathleen John accounted to Paul Avery, and the Chronicle indicates her abduction left her car and searched for her in the dark with a flashlight. However, in one report she made to the police, she stated he did not leave the vehicle. So, there's also a thing with his sign. The Catholic orphanage he stopped at had a close sign, and I'll show you that. Zodiac continued to communicate with authorities for the remainder of 1970 via letters and greeting cards to the press. In a letter postmarked April 20th, 1970, the Zodiac wrote, quote, "My name is blank," unquote. Followed by a 13-character cipher, the Zodiac went on to state that he was not responsible for the recent bombing of a police station in San Francisco, referring to the February 1970 death of Sergeant Brian McDonald 2 days after the bombing at Park Station in Golden Gate Park. But he added, he also put, quote, "There is more glory to killing a cop than I said because a cop can shoot back," unquote. The letter included a diagram of a bomb that Zodiac claimed he could use to blow up a school bus. At the bottom of the diagram, he wrote his Zodiac sign equals 10, San Francisco Police Department 0. Zodiac sent a greeting card postmarked April 29, 1970 to the Chronicles. Written on the card was, quote, "I hope you enjoy yourself when I have my blast," end quote, followed by the Zodiac's cross circle signature. On the back of the card, the Zodiac threatened to use the bus bomb soon unless the paper published the full details. He wrote, he also wanted to start seeing people wearing some nice Zodiac, quote, "some nice Zodiac buttons," end quote. It's just, so in the letter postmarked June 26, 1970, the Zodiac stated he was upset that he did not see people wearing Zodiac button. He wrote, quote, "I shot a man sitting in a parked car with a .38, end quote. The Zodiac was possible, referring to the murder of Sergeant Richard Redick a week earlier on June 19th at 5:25 a.m. Redick was writing a parking ticket in his squad car when an assault shot hit him in the head with a .38 caliber pistol. Redick died 15 hours later. San Francisco Police Department denied that Zodiac was involved in the murder. It remains unsolved. Included with the letter was a Phillips 66 road map of the San Francisco Bay Area on the image of Mount Diablo. The Zodiac has drawn cross circles similar to the ones he had included in the previous correspondence. At the top of the cross circle, he placed a 0, and then a 3, 6, and 9. Which I don't understand. The complete instructions stated that the 0 was, quote, "to be set to Mag N," unquote. The letter also included a 32-letter cipher that the killer claimed would, in conjunction with the code, led to the location of the bomb he had buried and set to go off in the fall. The cipher was never decoded, and the alleged bomb was never located. The bomber signed the note with, quote, Zodiac sign equal 12, San Francisco Police Department 0, end quote. In a letter, the Chronicle postmarked July 24th, 1970, the Zodiac took credit for Kathleen John's abduction 4 months after the incident. In July 26, 1970, the letter, the Zodiac paraphrased the song that the Mageau added his own lyrics about making a, quote, little list, end quote, of the ways he planned to torture his, quote, slaves in paradise, end quote. The letter was signed with a large, aggravated cross-circle symbol. I just... you guys like see this, you understand like how much it's hard. The circle and a new score, Zodiac equal 11, San Francisco Department 0. A final note at the bottom of the letter stated, quote, P.S. The Mountain Diablo code concerns radians plus hashtag inches along the radius, end quote. In 1981, a close examination of the radiant hit by Zodiac researcher Gareth Bren led to the discovery that a radiant angle was placed over the map per Zodiac's instruction, pointing to the location of 2 Zodiac attacks. On October 7, 1970, the Chronicle received a 2 by 3-inch card signed by the Zodiac with his Zodiac sign, and a small cross reported drawn with blood. The card mission was formed by passing words and letters from an edition of the Chronicle, and 13 holes were punched across the card. Inspectors Armstrong and Touche agreed it was highly probable the card came from Zodiac. So there was a letter to Paul Avery. On October 27, 1970, Chronicle reporter Paul Avery, who had been covering the Zodiac case, received a Halloween card signed with a letter Z, and the Zodiac's cross-circle symbol handwritten on the card was the note, Peekaboo, you're doomed. The threat was taken seriously and received a front-page story in the Chronicle. Soon after receiving this letter, Avery received an anonymous letter alerting him to the similarities between the Zodiac activities and the unsolved murder of Cherry Joe Bates, which had occurred 4 years earlier at the City College in Riverside in the Great Los Angeles area, more than 400 miles south of San Francisco. He reported his findings in the Chronicle on November 16, 1970. So, the Riverside attack. On October 30th, 1966, 18-year-old Cherry Joe Bates, a student of Riverside Community College, spent the evening at the campus library annex until it closed at 9 p.m. Neighbors report hearing a scream around 10:30 p.m. Bates was found dead the next morning a short distance from the library, between 2 abandoned houses slated to be demolished of campus renovations. I don't know, but if I heard a scream, I'd be like looking out. Like that's what I do at my place. Like I hear a scream or noise, I'm going outside. I'm looking. I'm be out the window. I'm the nosy neighbor. Like what? The wires in her Volkswagen distributor cap had been pulled off. She was brutally beaten and stabbed to death. A man Timex watch with a torn wristband was found nearby. The watch had stopped at 12:24, but police believe the attack occurred much earlier. A month later, on November 29th, 1966, nearly identical typewriter letter were mailed to the Reserve Police and the Riverside Press Enterprise, titled The Confession. The author claimed responsible of the Bates murder, proven details of the crime that were never released to the public. The author warned the Bates, quote, is not the first and she will not be the last, end quote. In December 1966, a poem was discovered carved into the bottom side of a desktop in the Riverside City College Library, titled, quote, Sick of Living, Unwilling to Die, end quote. The poem's language and handwriting resembled of the Zodiac's letter. It was signed with what was assumed to be the initials R.H. During the 1970 investigation, Sherwood Morrow, California's top questioned documents examiner, expressed his opinion that the poem was written by the Zodiac. On April 30th, 1947, exactly 6 months after the Bates murder, Bates' father Joseph, the Press Enterprise, and the Riverside Police all nearly received nearly identical letters in a handwritten scrawl. The Press Enterprise police copied rate, quote, Bates had to die, there will be more, end quote. With a small scribble at the bottom that resembles the letter Z, Joseph Bates' copy read, quote, She had to die, there will be more this time without the Z signature, end quote. On March 13, 1971, 5 months after Avery's article linked the Zodiac to the Riverside murder, the Zodiac mailed a letter to the Los Angeles Times. In the letter, he credited the police, instead of Avery, for discovering his, quote, Riverside activity, but they are only finding the easy ones. There will be hell of a lot more down there, end quote. So the connection between Cherry Joe Bates, Riverside, and the Zodiac remains uncertain. Paul Avery and the Riverside Police Department maintained the Bates homicide was not committed by the Zodiac. He did concede some of the Bates letters may have been his work to claim credit falsely. Which, I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I did the murders. What the heck do they want to do? Do they want to have like a time in jail or trying to roll up the system, see how it's working? I don't know. But I'm sorry, I wouldn't claim like, hey, it was me! I killed... No. So the Lake Tahoe disappearance. On March 22, 1971, a postcard to the Chronicle addressed to Paul Avery and believed to be the Zodiac appeared to claim responsibility for the disappearance of Don Last on September 6, 1970. Made from a collage of advertisements and magazine lettering, it featured a scene from an advertisement of Forest Pines condominium and the text, quote, Serial Club Assault Victim 12, end quote. Peek, or quote, peek through the pines, end quote, past Lake Tahoe area and around. In the snow, Zodiac cross sign symbol was in both of the places in the usual remain address of the lower right section of the front face of the postcard. So now he's leaving postcards? Man, this is a game for him. Last was a nurse at the Sarah Tahoe Hotel and Casino. She worked until 2 a.m. on September 6, 1970. Treated her last patient at 1:40 a.m. Later that same day, both Last's employer and her landlord received phone calls from an unknown male falsely claiming Last had left town due to a family emergency. Last was never found. What appeared to be a gravesite was discovered near the Claire DePen Lodge in Northern California on Sahara Club property, but an excavation yielded only a pair of sunglasses. No evidence has been uncovered to connect the last appearance with the Zodiac Killer, definitely. Then you have the Santa Barbara attack. In the Vallejo Herald-Times appeared on November 13, 1972. Bill Baker of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department postulated, but the 1963 murders of a young couple in modern Santa Barbara County might have been the work of the Zodiac Killer on June 4, 1963. School Senator Robert Domingos and fiancée Linda Edwards were shot dead in a beach near Lamacoke, having skipped school that day for senior ditch day. Oh, I remember that. I skipped on senior skip day in my senior and my freshman year. So it still goes on. I think this is the 70s. They had senior skip day? Oh, wow. I wonder who made it. But anyways, police believe that the assailant attempted to bind the victims, but they were freed themselves and attempted to flee. The killer shot them repeatedly in the back chest with a .22 caliber weapon. The killer then placed their bodies in a small shack and then tried, unsuccessfully, to burn the structure to the ground. What is up with people freaking burning bodies? Ugh, I don't know. After the Pines card, the Zodiac remained... So this is a Zodiac's final letter. After the Pines card, the Zodiac remained silent for nearly 3 years. 3 years? What was he doing? The Chronicle then received a letter from the Zodiac postmarked January 29, 1974. Praised The Exorcist as, quote, the best satirical comedy that I've ever seen, end quote. Okay, no thank you. The letter included the sniped version of the Mageau and an unusual symbol at the bottom that remained unexplained by researchers. Zodiac concluded the letter with a new score. Me, 37. San Francisco Police Department, 0. Which I never understand why he does this. So let's see the later letters of suspicious authorship. Of further communications sent by the police to members of the news media, some contain familiar characters to previous Zodiac writings. the Chronicle received a letter postmarked February 14, 1974, informing the editor that the initials of the Symbalsi Laborous Army spelled out an Old Norse word meaning, quote, kill, end quote. However, the handwriting was not authorized as the Zodiac's. Why? A letter to the Chronicle postmarked May 8, 1974, featured a complaint that the movie Badlands was, quote, murder glorification, end quote, and asked the paper to cut an advertisement signed only A Citizen. The handwriting, tone, and surface irony were all familiar to earlier Zodiac's communication. The Chronicle subsequently received an ominous letter posted July 8, 1974, complaining that their publish of the writings at the anti-feminist column Marco Spinell. The letter was signed, quote, the Red Phantom, red with rage, end quote. The Zodiac's authorship of this letter is debated. I don't know, like I said, why do people just want to know? Oh, I did the crime. A letter dated April 24th, 1974, was initially deemed authorized but was declared a hoax. Later than 3 months later by the three experts, David Tucci, the San Francisco Police Department homicide detective, who had worked the case since the Stein murder, was thought to have forget the letter because Arthur Armistead Mulpin believed the letter to be familiar to fan mail he received in 1976, which he believed was authorized by Tucci. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong, but I'm sorry. Sorry, Tucci. Tucci denied Ferrin the Zodiac letter and was eventually cleared by all Cheney charges. The authenticity of the letter remained unverified. That's weird. On March 3rd, 2007, American Greetings Christmas card sent the Chronicle postmarked 1990 in Eureka had recently been discovered in their photo files by editor-assistant Daniel King. Inside the envelope was the card with a photocopy of 2 U.S. postal keys on a magnet keychain. The handwriting on the envelope resembled Zodiac's print, but was declared inauthentic by forensic documents explainer Lloyd Cunningham. However, not all Zodiac experts agree with Cunningham's analysis. There is no certain address to the envelope, nor in his cross-circled signature to be found. The card itself is unmarked. The Chronicle turned over all the material to Vallejo Police Department for further analysis. So, the thing is, they were looking for anything that had his mark. So if they got something and they didn't get a mark, nope, they don't care. It's crazy. So in April 2004, the San Francisco Police Department marked the case inactive, citing caseload pressure and resources demands, and effectively closing the case. However, they reopened the case somewhere between March 2007. The case is open in Napa County and in the city of Riverside. In May 2018, the Vallejo Police Department announced their intention to attempt to collect the Zodiac Killer DNA from the back of stamps he used during correspondence. Analysis by a private laboratory is expected to utilize an evidence-new technique that is designed to separate DNA from the glue present on the back of stamps. It is hoped Zodiac Killer may be caught in a similar faction of the Golden State Killer, Joseph James D'Angelo, in May 2018, and a Vallejo police detective said that results were expected in several weeks. However, to date, no results have been reported. So, this is all about the Zodiac Killer. Like I said, I always wonder, do you think, what happened to his mother killing herself? And then the abuse at the nuns from the boys and the kids? Do you think that's what made this a serial killer, and how the girl, I'll show you on here, the women look like his mom? So, let me know what you guys think. I know it's an hour-long one, so I hope you guys like it. And I'll see you on the next time. Be safe. Much love.